So today we're talking about accountability, right? And selflessness, and we're going to shoot some old stories back and forth. How's that sound?
That sounds great. I was kind of doing some math, looking back at some of the yearbooks and everything. So I did leadership. I taught it for 7 years. Started in fall of '98, and then my last semester was spring of 2005.
Right.
And
I took over. Yeah, in fall of 2005. Right, and still have done it since then. And before you, who was Paul, right?
Paul Gamalin was
one of the only Mr. Paul Gamalin. That's right.
So you put the two of us together, that's about 22 years, and I think that's roughly half of Lakeland's existence.
Yeah, I worked that. I was thinking about that this morning too. I was like, that's about half of the time that Lakeland's been around. So, yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
We've been privileged to be surrounded by some pretty talented and hardworking students, and that's kind of a cool thing to look back on. That's something I've been doing the last week for sure.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, ever since this whole thing started, just trying to reach out to people, you know what I mean? People I haven't talked to in a while maybe, or, other things like that. And just trying to reconnect with different people. And then I find those random phone numbers are stored in my phone from, I don't know when I put them in there. Like I put this number in my phone for some field trip in 2011. And you know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, hey, okay, let's text this person and see what it's like.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I actually found some old letters that my students used to write in my class, kind of like as they were leaving the class, and so I scanned those in and started sending some of those letters back to them this week, and so that was kind of fun. So
that is cool.
Yep.
That is cool. I found a bunch of thank you letters and stuff from throughout the years. Those little cards, remember those little colored cards, and we've been doing. I've got a bunch of those and stuff, and I'm thinking about making a scrapbook or something. We'll figure something out how to put all that stuff together over the time. You got a lot of things going on your walls there and stuff, though, looking at the head behind you there, Headman, too.
Yeah, I've actually tried to create kind of an office. Maybe I've been inspired by your podcast. Maybe I've been just taking advantage of the time. But yeah, there's some basketball stuff back there, and some just photos with some different people. I've kind of Shane Battier's back there somewhere, and Coach Gino from UConn, and
right.
There's Megan Bowens and Jessica Dleba back there from Baruch College. But yeah,
right.
Alan Trammell back there. Signed.
Oh, nice. Even better. That's cool.
So yep.
Cool. Good stuff. So let's talk. I guess we'll talk a little bit about leadership stuff before we start bringing up old stories from the past, I guess, or whatever. But we're talking about accountability a little bit today, and I think accountability in leadership is a big piece, kind of the buck stops here concept, you know what I mean, and the idea of just being able to say nope, I made that decision, that's that's me, that's all me, and that concept. What are your thoughts on that?
I wholeheartedly believe in that. Accountability is probably one of the characteristics I value most in people, and obviously in myself. I believe wholeheartedly that we make choices in our life. I'm not a really big believer in fate. So with that comes this burden of responsibility for your choices and your decisions. And as leaders in any role that we play, I think we always have to be, first of all, cognizant of the fact that we're bound to make mistakes. We're gonna not always do things perfectly.
Right.
Sometimes we'll have the right intention to do something, but it just won't come out and come across, and it won't, execute itself very properly. And that's fine. And then once you realize that, I think people become much more comfortable with the idea of being accountable for those decisions.
Right.
And I think that's an important step for people to get to, is to realize that failure or making mistakes is going to happen, but just be clear and upfront about where those mistakes and failures originated from. And it might be from my decision to do something or somebody else's decision. So I think that's just an important skill to have in any role of leadership.
Well, yeah, I agree, and that I always teach my kids, and I know you did too, was that the idea that failures aren't bad. Like, you can learn from a mistake. Like, that's the whole point. Like, half the time is, if something goes right, yay, something went right. Like, you know what I mean? It was great. We did it. It was a great project. Not everything goes perfect, you know, and the idea of that maybe you made a decision that didn't work out so hot. Well, what are you going to do now?
Right.
Like, are you going to remake that decision again, or how are you going to learn from that? You know, you took accountability for making the decision, step one. Now, step two, let's advance it. Let's grow from it. Let's say, where are we going to go from here? How am I going to make it better, you know, in this concept and that whole idea?
You know, two of my favorite words are "my bad." You know,
Right.
and that, when I see people, say that somewhere, like in a sporting event or something like that, I just, my respect level goes up immensely for them, because they understand that it's okay that they're acknowledging they've made a mistake. They acknowledge that it started with them, or it falls on them, and it's the beginning step of being accountable, and then doing, as you said, learning from it, moving forward from it, and kind of making up for it, if you will, in some way.
Right. Yeah, I'm a big believer in that. Like, just like you said, like, everybody's going to make mistakes. Like, nobody's perfect. Like, nobody's going to do everything right the first time. If it did, the world would be living in some utopian society somewhere. You know what I mean? And doing it that way. But nobody's perfect. Nobody's going to get it right the first time. People don't get it right the second time sometimes, you know. And we have the honor and privilege of sometimes of being able to do things over and over and over again. It's kind of the repetitiveness of teaching sometimes, you know, and the ability to say, well, a couple years ago we did that didn't quite work out, so let's try it this way, huh? And hopefully being able to teach some kids that maybe, you know, go left instead of right occasionally, you know, and then kind of taking it from that aspect,
I, I readily admit that, when I was doing leadership and student activities, I definitely made some mistakes, some things that did not go nearly as well as they could have.
Me too.
But but that was it. I would always kind of model for the students that, hey, all right, that's me, and all right, I've got to kind of adjust and do something differently, or kind of redeem myself.
Right.
How do I make it better? How do I correct that for if somebody was affected by that? That's fine, as long as you're willing to take ownership of the action and try to make amends, if you will.
Right. I think that's one of the keys is the ability to make amends, because the ability to make amends knows that you realize you did something wrong.
Yeah.
And that realization comes along the lines of, okay, I did it wrong. I'm going to own up to it, and I'm going to work it out. I'm going to make it better. You know what I mean? And that how all that comes about, which is I think one of the steps too there is not only can I learn from it, but how can I make the situation better sometimes, because there are certain situations where you have to make it better, you know what I mean? And you should make it better to build those relationships and to keep the networking going and the camaraderie. And, we all got to work together here, like on stuff, especially in a group setting or in a team setting, we all got to work together. So own up to it and make it better along the way.
Yeah. And I always felt like, my role with this program was that, when the students had success, or, people were kind of wanted to compliment something that the class did or something, I always kind of made sure that the students were the ones who were kind of being acknowledged for that. Mm-hmm. And then on the other hand, I recognized that because if I were the teacher or I were the student activities director, when things went wrong, I would do my best to make sure that ultimately the blame or the responsibility fell on me, even though it might have been a mistake made by a student in some capacity.
Right.
As long as they learn from it, that was great. But I always want to make sure that, hey, the buck stops with me. I run the program, whatever it might be. So that was something.
I've always had that same philosophy, and I got a lot of that from you, to be honest with you. The idea of the successes are the students, you know what I mean? Because that's what it's supposed to be, right? We're teaching a student leadership class. It's high school kids, I like to call it 35 of the best kids in the building. That's what I like to call it most of the time, and, but if there's a problem or there's an issue, that's something that's building wide, or there's a major event catastrophe, or which happens, oh boy, it happens. And, then that tends to fall on me. And then I can use it as a teachable moment to the kids in our class setting, but on the outward side of it, it's like, okay, we'll fix it. It'll be good. Don't worry. And then, so, we'll take it from there. So.
And I guarantee you there are things that both you and I have kind of, we've gotten flack for, we've been criticized for, that we just kind of took it and kept it in our own world, just because we understand, that's, you have to be accountable, and it doesn't need to go anywhere further than that. And,
right.
So that's kind of a burden that we bear, but I think we do it because we wanted to, and it's worthwhile because.
Yeah, I mean, right. There are things. There's a lot of stuff. I don't say a lot of stuff, but there are some things that we keep, just keep it right here, keep it on the inside to say, hey, like, okay, my bad, like you like to say, and then we'll move on from there, moving on to the next thing. Yes. You know what I mean? To do to that. So
excellent.
So moving on to the next thing, talking about selflessness. That's moving the egos out of the way. A lot of times, I think.
Yeah, I think a lot of people focus on the word being, on the word unselfish, but I think the more valuable word, or the more valuable trait, is being selfless. It's really this idea of doing something for other people's benefit before it benefits you, and knowing though that, we're buying into the idea that when you do something that benefits other people, almost 100% of the time you benefit from it as well. Right. And it's just more of a trickle down thing. And it's, instead of being driven by the primary focus of, I want to do something that benefits me first, it's doing something that benefits other people. And then down the line, I know I get a benefit out of that as well.
Right. Well, it's kind of the comeback of where, I like to use homecoming as a great example. Like, I always tell people, I'm not in it to make money. That's not what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Money happens to be something that we make. I mean, we sell a ticket, right? There's a profit that goes along with it and different types of stuff like that. But we're in it for the experience. We're in it for I tell my kids, I go, think about the other, 1,400 kids that go to Lakeland. What do they want to do? Yeah. How could you get them involved? Think about, because it's usually a class full of seniors in the fall. It's usually a class full of seniors. And I always, one of the first things I says is, remember when you were a freshman, what would you have done to be able to go to this function? What would have driven you as a 14-year-old freshman guy or girl who knew maybe 15 people in the building? What would you do what would attract you to this event? How could you do that? And then think of your friends too. Don't just think of you, think of your friends. Think of those other friends that you talk to every now and then, the people you have, or their acquaintances. What are they going to do? How are you going to, I don't want to say drag, but how are you going to get some of those people to participate? 100% participation is always the goal. Do I always get 100% participation? No, I don't think I've ever gotten 100% participation. But the idea of, if you think about that and that's your goal and that's where you can go from there in your mind, then the idea of that tends to work out, and you're not thinking about yourself. You know what I mean? Then you put it in the concept and the brain, the mindset of other people. What would other people do to enjoy this event? Or how are other people going to benefit from this event? What charity are we going to donate to? What, different thing like that are we going to get to? And then if there's something that comes back, gratitude that comes back afterwards, a monetary benefit that comes back afterwards, those things are just side notes.
Yes.
To that. That's, my 2 cents on that one.
I agree. When you talked about, challenging the students in the leadership class, that, their goal is to engage others, to reach out to them, and to provide experiences that are positive for them. In doing so, those students in leadership, they are benefiting. They are working on skills like, communication skills, interpersonal skills. They're working on getting out of their own comfort zones.
Right.
They're working on building a network of just contacts, and those are the leadership skills that they can gain by planning these activities and thinking, okay, right, how do we make this as best as possible, as positive as possible for as many people as possible, as you mentioned.
Right.
And then don't think about yourself first, think about them, and then the rewards will come back to you. They always will.
Right. They do too. That's something that's always been true in the end. But I always tell you, don't do it for the rewards. Like don't do it for the awards, and don't do it for the plaques or the school board recognitions or whatever else. You know what I mean? Do it for the other people. Like that's why you should do it. Like that's why you should want to be involved. One of the things you should want to be involved for in the first place. You know, in my sense, and that's where selflessness kind of kicks in a little bit there. I think to that key. So
I was I revisited a movie recently, Back to the Future, and it's
one of the best.
Yes, and I also used to kind of reference it a little bit in leadership when we were preparing for dances, because in Back to the Future, it's all about Marty getting his father and his mother to kind of meet during the dance, because that's where they had their moment. That's where their life kind of started.
Under the tea dance, yes.
Yes. And so I used to tell the students that, like, hey, your planning and your work may create a moment for two of your classmates, two students in this building to meet for the first time, and maybe they become friends, or maybe there's a relationship. Who knows? But that's what you're thinking of. You're thinking about what are the benefits and positives that other people are going to get from your work.
Right.
If you think that way and you kind of think big picture, then that's kind of that's, as I said, that is kind of the reward, that that you created a moment that somebody could have had that was meaningful for them, and then looking back on that, you'll find meaning in it for yourself too.
Right, and it's those types of things that, to me, I don't know, make me smile when you think about stuff like that. Those are the happy memories, the times when you could get the most people to come out and do something, or the times where you could help raise some funds for somebody who's needy, or the charities and stuff like that. All those things, and how you all put it all together, and how you can look at, you said, the big picture piece, I think is key, because it's hard sometimes to get out of the small minute details, especially when you're planning something. Like if you're in a committee and it's your job to do X, Y, and Z, you got to remember somewhere how X, Y, and Z fit into the global scale of whatever, you know what I mean? And how does my piece fit into this? And you got to keep that in mind, I think, overall, because if you get too caught up in the details, sometimes you kind of forget where you're going. You know what I mean? Where's your vision? Where is it all going in the process? So, or your why, as I like to call it, to pull the
Which I think that's so fantastic. I love that little message that you have with your students, that it is, you have to see the forest through the trees. You have to kind of, see that big picture. And that's always, another little thing that I have on my side was, this idea of you got to see the world from other people's kind of porches. And that's kind of like, my little side project too that we all know about.
Oh, yeah. So cool. Good stuff. We got any good stories? What's some good stories? I know you've got some.
Oh, we all have good. I know we both have good stories.
Oh, yeah.
I was trying to jot down some memories. I mean, there's just so many of them, but let me ask you, because I have a couple. I always, obviously the leadership class is one of the things they do is they always they have to come up with their themes for homecoming.
Right.
And so, like, how do you how was your process for that? And then I'll kind of tell you a little bit about a story about one of ours.
Oh, it can be fun at times. I usually let them brainstorm for a little while, and then we start jotting stuff up on a board. And recently it's been more on the smart board, as the technology increases or whatever. And then we kind of hash it out from there, go back and forth. People got to give their reasons why, what they're doing. We cross off things that nobody likes right off the bat. We multiple voting processes and things and stuff until we eventually narrow it down to, where we want to go. Some years it can be contentious, and some years it can be like, hey, I like number 2. Okay. And then it's like, you're done in a day. I've had to take 2 weeks before. So, because I always tell the kids, one of the things we have to get done before the end of the year is we got to have a homecoming theme, and we got to have like t-shirt colors and t-shirt designs and stuff like that. So that when we come back in the fall, we can focus on actually doing the work behind it, and not a lot of that stuff. But yeah, that's kind of how we do it.
So yeah, a similar thing. I used to have every student has to contribute an idea. I'm a big believer in brainstorming. Brainstorming is where, sometimes you get beyond the most, kind of like commonplace ideas, and you get to the more kind of interesting ideas. So, I remember one year we were going around, and the usual things always pop up, like the decades and outer space and
Disney.
traveling the world, and
Right.
those are good at different times and different places. I remember one year we were going around, and one of the students, one of my favorites of all time, just really a great person here, and I gave her heads up. I was probably going to give her a shout out today, but Kate Maxwell,
Nice.
class of 03, I believe.
Right.
So we were going around and people were saying ideas, and then finally Kate comes up with a couple of great ideas. And I remember one of her great ideas. She just says, "Shapes. We should have like shapes homecoming." And people were like, "Shapes?" She's like, "Yeah, some class could be like squares, and another class could be triangles." And it was just such a classic, thing that like, nope, nobody's ever said that one. And then pretty sure she followed that up with, maybe we could do like emotions. And so that was
Who wants
another
to
one.
be angry? Who wants to be angry?
And it was just, I always remember that. But I think we ended up settling on that year because another student just said like, "Oh, pirates." And people were like, "Well, we can't do pirates because we were in the league back then with Pink Me, and the Pink Me
Right.
was Pirates." But it got like dispelled immediately. But then it came back, and we ended up with pirates as our theme for the year, and we did some pretty cool things with that one. But I always kind of jokingly refer to shapes as kind of one of my favorite memories from like trying to come up with homecoming themes.
One of my favorite, I think, was, I want to throw it back to, and we've done this one a couple of times, is the first year we went to the really big lighting, like the big lighting stuff, and we got enough people to where we had to move it into the field house out of the auxiliary gym. I think it was, I didn't tell her I was going to give her a shout out, but I'm doing it anyways. It was Rachel Nestor, who were literally sitting around one day, and she's like, "Why don't we just do like a rock concert thing?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "Just going to do this like rock concert thing. It's going to be great. Like, you got all these big lights and stuff and things." Because we had done the big lights last year, the year before, just in the auxiliary gym, and it was a huge hit, and our ticket sales were like, we expected them to be way up,
Right.
So, and and I was like, "Oh, okay, we're going to do this rock concert thing. It's cool." Like, that was the year we had, well, I'll give him a shout out. So it was the year we had Brian Walker DJ the dance. He's an 05 Lakeland grad right there, and homecoming king, throwing it back. But he did that, and that was fun. That was cool. It was different. I mean, it was the first time we'd ever done anything on that large of a scale, and which was cool. And then I think things kind of took off from there. So I kind of credit that idea to that, and we did a jungle theme or something the year before. Kind of credit those two ideas to kind of taking us where we are today, with the amount of people we got coming and what we do and how we go about that, and the connections I've made and the resources we've been able to pull in, and and things and stuff like that along those types of sense. So yeah, that's a pretty cool. My friend, another joke that we always have just came up last year with Brady Woodruff. Brady, I love you, dude. I really do. We were joking around. We got it down to between whatever our homecoming theme was and game night, and he keep wanted game night. Like, every class could be a different game. We could do this thing, and it was always like that. So whenever anything didn't work, he'd always step up and be like, "Well, we could always change it to game night." Like, it was like Brady, homecoming's tomorrow. I know it's not too late. Okay, well, yeah, it kind of is, man. But yeah,
he was going to die on that hill.
He was going to take it. Even into graduation, I even think he mentioned, he said it still wasn't too late to change it. We're at graduation day. I was like, might be a little late now. But I don't know, that one sticks in my mind. We'll throw that one back out there for a couple of years, see if it floats.
For those of you who are watching this who don't remember or weren't around, you talk about the dance in the field house. You talk about dance in the auxiliary gym. Back in the day, we used to actually have it in the Kiva, which is currently known as the Center for Performing Arts, CPA. But that's back in the day before they restructured everything. It used to be more of an amphitheater setting and with removables. Right. So we used to put that dance in there. So shout out to all those people who had to dance in the different levels of the Kiva. That was kind of
before they blew it up. Yeah, right. Oh, I remember that. I remember we had a snowstorm one night, and we were having a Winterfest dance in the Kiva. And something was going on or whatever like that, and the principal probably was probably it was Mr. Maley at the time. I was thinking,
Oh,
I got to put my timing hat back on. Goes, we're going to end the dance early. You got to go up there and tell the DJ the dance is over. What? I've been there like 2 years. Like I was like sophomore class sponsor or something. And I'm like, you want me to do what? There's like 700 people here. Like, he's like, they all got to go home. They got to go home now. And I was like, okay. So I went up and told the DJ and the dance ended and that was it.
Right.
Kids were like, okay. And they all turned around and left. And I was like, well, that went a lot better than I thought it was going to go. But yeah. Oh, yeah. Dances in the Kiva, putting the throwback hat on there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Another, I don't know about this, but back in the day, we also used to do, the leadership was responsible for filling the pop machines.
Right.
Remember that? Yeah.
Yep.
So I remember those days. I'm trying to. Oh.
I wish pop was as profitable now as it was then.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding.
From a fundraiser perspective.
I remember you have a shopping cart, I think, in your possession these days, right?
I have 3 of them, actually, but yes. For those of you I didn't steal them. For those of you in YouTube land, I did. They were there when I got them. So go to this guy over here.
And it showed up. I don't know. I just,
right.
I don't know how it happened, but I do remember, it was part of its original use was to, like during assemblies, which again, back in the day, we're in the auxiliary gym. We didn't have the field house. So
yep.
If anybody needs to picture this, the auxiliary gym has, I think it still has bleachers on one side, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So they had bleachers on the other wall as well. And then
up top.
Yeah, on the upper deck, they had bigger bleachers. So our assemblies, that's where the freshmen would sit. And then the seniors would sit in the side where the bleachers are now. And then the sophomores and juniors would sit on the opposite side. So this is back like 99, 2000, probably fall of 99, actually. This is probably a Jacqueline and Nikki thing. But they got a shopping cart because they were going to throw out, they were passing out like giveaway, prizes. Right. So they had it, there was their prize cart. And I remember one of the things they did, they were giving away shirts, but to get shirts up into the upper balcony, they couldn't throw it up there. So they kind of wrapped them up in tape.
Right.
And they had like a slingshot.
Oh, nice.
So they slingshot the shirts up to the upper level. And I remember, although I don't really remember witnessing it, I just always heard it from the Jacqueline and Nikki that they kind of reached back and boom, project, just shot one up into the upper deck and supposedly hit some kid who wasn't looking right in the face.
Yeah, that happens. I've seen that at football games too, where cheerleaders and stuff throw stuff into the crowds and some poor kid just gets whacked in the side of the head. You're like, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, that's good.
My bad.
There
you go.
Yeah. Well, that's like the time at a football game I announced it was Halloween or a playoff football game, and it was on Halloween or it was like the day before Halloween, and the theme was like costumes or something like that or whatever. And there's a dude running around in a white sheet. Well, so I get on the PA and I announce that Jesus is here. And somebody was like, no, it's a ghost. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, hey, okay. There's only 2,000 people here. Life is good, right? So
I think Jesus only shows up at touchdown, at Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, right? Yeah, touchdown Jesus. Yeah, that's the only place where I think he shows up. Oh, I know. Go blue, right, Mr. Head? Go blue. So.
I know you've done this before with your class. You kind of take them on, field trips and reward them for all the work. We used to, another memory is for a few years after homecoming, obviously the kids have put in tons of hours to do that.
Right.
So we used to go to Mongolian barbecue in Novi. And I can remember one day, they just, load up, and we had some, those teenage kids, man, they can eat food.
Oh, yeah.
And Mongolian was all you can eat. So remember one day there was a standoff, just a contest between Trevor Sutton and Nick Scandy. And I think the final tally was they'd filled like 7 bowls of food, and gone back 7 different times, and consumed 7 bowls of food at Mongolian, which was probably not healthy at all. But
no, the amount of salt in that alone is probably killer. So
I don't think
funny
they were
part.
worried about the salt. I think I think the digestive system was kind of acting after
True.
that.
It's the science teacher in me thinking about the salt, I guess. But the funny part about that is I saw a picture of you in a class standing outside the Mongolian barbecue in Novi, and I do that exact same thing because I saw that picture of you and them doing it.
I have that picture around somewhere too. I don't know. It's close by. It's
That's one of the reasons why I do. I used to do it at the one. There used to be one in Lansing, by Michigan State's campus, but that went out. They closed. That one went out of business. So we started doing it on the same day as we go to Lansing to meet our legislature, kind of leadership in action type of field trip. And then we come back and go to the Mongo in Novi. Come back and go to the Mongo in Novi. So yeah, good time.
It's too much food. And I know you work with Trevor's. Connor was the youngest one, but Trevor's older sister Ashley. She was, which kind of made me think about AJ is I knew her back in the day. She was a leadership veteran.
Right.
Really great student at Lakeland, and the whole Sutton family was. But
oh yeah,
kind of made me think about I've had just during my 7 years, I had the Sutton, two of the Sutton kids in class. The whole Innes family.
Right.
I was like Whit, Corey, and Lindsay.
Mm-hmm.
I had the Evanson sisters, Jacqueline and Danielle. I had the Gossett sisters, Katie and Bridget.
Mm-hmm.
The Wisner sisters, Katie and Carly.
Right.
The Digsbys. I had Martha and Stephen. I had all these, siblings go through the program, which was really cool.
Right, it's cool. Yeah. I had the Pellets, all three of them.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Kind of go through there, and I'm going to have the Farquhars. I had Trent and Tate's going to be in there coming up in a little bit here, and there's lots of different things to go along with all that. So that's cool though. It's cool to see how that all works out. You know what I mean? Overall, throughout the years. So.
Great that we have such great families that go through Lakeland with just.
Oh yeah.
That's the thing I think about too is you see, these the siblings that go through, and that's another thing we've been blessed to see is that so many of those are such dedicated people to the community, and it reflects their parents are like that as well too.
Well, I want to shout out to the roadies and those and the people like the Hymans,
the Jansons.
Yeah, right. And everybody, just for all the amount, those are just people off the top of my head. So just there's been so many parent families, the Govans, everybody through the years who have put in all that time and that effort, and the Jansons. Oh, you said the Jansons, didn't you? But the just through the time and the effort and the years, and we couldn't do it without them. I couldn't do it without them, and the school couldn't, and it's that parent support is key. The community support is key for a lot of things we do. A lot of things we try, especially stuff for student leadership, student activities, getting out in the community, working with different groups and stuff. They like that. So one of the things I was thinking about afterwards is when you post this, obviously I'm going to share it, and then I'm going to ask, put it out there to the social media world and kind of say, hey, what were some of your memories of the class and all that stuff? And I'm looking forward to that because I just kind of mentioned a couple things that activities we did. We used to do for Valentine's Day, kind of did a retro activity where it was a budgeting activity, or I gave every student $5, and then they had to. We did, they all designed little shoe boxes like they used to do in elementary school. Right.
And then we had a little Valentine's Day party, and that was after we had cut out 1,000 hearts to decorate the cafeteria with hearts.
Right.
But I remember that little activity, and a couple of the kids in the class combined their money and they bought a bird, a class pet for the class, and that was kind of cool. We had a fish one time. Yeah. Shout out to Ellie Horn and the leader fish from back in the day. Yeah. I think the bird was Bethany Blanchard and Carly Wisner, and the bird's name was Romeo. Nice. They didn't have enough money to buy two birds. It was a lovebird. Romeo was a lovebird. Oh, right. There you go. They didn't have enough money to pull together to get two birds, but there's another story. That story goes on for a few more chapters about Romeo, but there you go. I know those who are around know that story. Another thing we used to do during like that, December, Christmas holidays, we used to do kind of like a leadership gift exchange, which is kind of fun. That we do like Secret Santa.
Secret Santa. Yeah, I do that too. Call it Holiday Friends now. Try to keep it on the PC side. But yeah, no, I know what you're saying. No, I do those things too. It's good. All that stuff builds relationships, man. And camaraderie, and it's like team building when they don't know they're team building. Yeah. I think to an extent, from there too. So
there's another fun memory here. Let's see if you can see that there. There we go.
There you go. Oh, look, I know what that picture is. Yeah.
So yeah, once we they're redoing the main entrance of Lakeland, and they're doing all that part of the construction back there in 2004. Rumor had it there was some time capsule buried in that like opening plaza.
Right.
So the construction company kind of removed all the concrete, and so for like a week or so, somebody had said, hey, Mike, you guys should look for the time capsule that supposedly is out there. We had no guidance, no specific location. So for a week or so, we would go out there, and this was in the spring. So it was like, yeah, it was beautiful weather. Why not go out there? And so this group of people we'd find some shovels and some stuff, and we were just digging around. We never found anything, but it was fun.
Digging holes, right?
Exactly, just like the book.
That's right. Looking for the hypothetical time capsule. Nice.
I don't know if it's there, but it was one of those memories that I like. Remember we were digging for a time capsule for a week or something like that? Like, okay, whatever.
That's funny. Well, and those are the stories that you remember. Like, those are the things that are like, hey, we dug around for a time capsule in the middle of the, where the parking lot's going to be, or where the 8 foyer thing's going to be right now, and all that other stuff. So, cool, man. Good stuff. Well, it's National Student Leadership Week, too. So I want to give a little shout out to all the student leaders out there, the ones in my class, the ones who aren't in my class, everybody who's a student leader at Lakeland and in the Huron Valley area.
Hold on. Oh, right. Go ahead. I'm just going to.
Oh, breaking out the old school T-shirt today. Nice. Looking good, man. Looking good. So, but it's National Student Leadership Week, and I want to thank all the student leaders that are out there. And I want to thank all the work you've done, and for the efforts you've put forth, try to make our school and your school better, just wherever you are. If you're in our Huron Valley area, if you're in our league, KVC, KLA, LVC, pick a league, right, Mike? And, just appreciate all the work that you do, and appreciate all that you've done for your schools and your community. And for a couple of guys like this right here who couldn't do it without you, you know what I mean, in that sense. So cool.
I look back and like the students we've had in our class and where they are now. A number of them either served our country in the military. Like Burkhart and Kern and Tucker, among others, and Strauss.
Yeah.
We have a number who are in the medical profession. Mm-hmm. A couple names that just jump out at me: Richmond and Reed, and so forth.
Yep.
Teachers. Some of them have gone back into education. We had one at Lakeland for a couple of years, Katie Sanborn, who used to be Katie Kalel, but she was a Lakeland kid back in the day and was in leadership.
Lindsay Gillespie too, before she married Bill Lloyd. Shout out to those guys.
And then just so many of them who are, from I've been around a little bit longer, so my alumni are a little bit older, but so many of them are such great parents. And that's really, I think, when it comes down to it, I think that's probably the most important leadership role there is in the world, is being a good parent. So shout out to all of you who are just being, leaders in your own way in our society. If we had anything to do with helping you get there, we're grateful for that, and we certainly enjoy it and appreciate it. And but more likely than not, most of them were just bound to be great leaders no matter what. So
true, it's true.
So just commend all those students who I've had in my classroom for just in some way and somehow making a difference in the world and being positive influences. 100%
agree. So thanks for coming on today, Mike.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Scott. This is long time. We've really never done this. So as far as talking about some of the old days and so forth. So I really appreciate this. And if nothing else, you've inspired me to kind of consider reaching out to some of my former students like you have with Chris and Sam, and I might kind of relive some of my glory days as well with them. So thank you
That's
for
cool.
inspiring me that. And my hat's off to you, literally, for being such a influential force at Lakeland and in the community, Scott. I mean, you have certainly been a great role model for so many people. So I have a lot of respect for you.
I appreciate that, and it's back at you. I couldn't have done some of the things that I do without some of the stuff I picked up from you along the way too. So, and some of the ways you've done some things and some of the history and the way, you still do it. I still do it some ways, the same way you did it, just because it works really well, and it was some idea that you came up with, Lord knows when, so, those types of deals. So shout out to you too for all you do and all you've done. I really appreciate it. So,
all right, so let's pat ourselves on the back.
That's right. There we go.
All right.
We'll talk to you later. Thanks for coming on again.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks, everybody.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.